here in the Special Collections Division at Nashville Public Library, where you can trace your family's history and find your roots. Winston Churchill said, "The farther back you look, the farther ahead you can see." I invite you to look back and see where your ancestors came from.
Welcome to Discover NPL, a program which looks at the services and events available at the Nashville Public Library.
The Library's Special Collection Division is a great resource for Davidson County residents. Residents can find out why they were established here.
I think my love for genealogy began even before I knew really what genealogy was. My grandmother used to call it being annoying. I would constantly ask questions about who this one was or who the other one was or what her experiences were as a child. My fondest memory is probably a little morbid to some people, looking at obituaries of family members and friends. I really did not understand that history could even be a profession. I only understood it as a passion. And so it was there that I got my first experience to combine both my passion and my profession. And in doing my both undergraduate and graduate research, I found that it wasn't just an interest in only my family, but also in other families, people that were known, others that were less known, who have contributed to the rich tapestry that is Nashville's past, its present, and its bright future.
I've been interested in family history and think I always will be, and I always tell people it's because it's the greatest hobby in the world. You never run out of people to look for. When you get tired of your own family, you can look up your husband's family or your cousin's family or the neighbor's family. You can look up your neighborhood. You never run out of people, and it's just a fun, easy hobby. The more you do it, the more you can do it. It's just one of those hobbies.
It was my interest in civil rights that actually brought me to the Nashville Public Library and to its very, very now famous Civil Rights Room, where there are a host of interactive materials, both those traditional as in books, but others that are a little bit more interesting to perhaps the novice historian or researcher. There are films of civil rights activities here in Nashville, as well as the first-person experiences of those people, those many, many people who participated in the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 60s through the Special Collections Area's Oral History Project, in which tens and tens of Nashvillians, both native and still present, and those who have been here for a period and left and come back, have provided for us, for new generations of Nashvillians, the opportunity to understand what their experiences were like while a part of the Nashville movement.
I first came to the library, to the old Nashville room in the Ben West Library when I was much, much younger. But I already had a history gene, they say. I'd always loved history, and I was interested in tracing my own family. I'm pretty lucky in that my family had lived here in Tennessee for many, many years. They all stayed in the same place. They're all buried in the same cemetery. So it was kind of fun to trace them, but there wasn't much challenge to it. So I began tracing other people's families, just kind of for fun in other places. It was interesting to me. Then again, to know Mary Glenn Hearn, who was head of the Nashville Room at that time. Nashville Room was very small then in the old Ben West Library. I got to know Mrs. Hearn. I was lucky that she asked me if I would like to have a job there helping other people tracing their families, and of course that's exactly what I wanted to do, so I did get that job and I set out working there. Genealogy was very different in those days. Almost everybody that I dealt with was white, was middle class, was looking to join a lineage society. It just was very, very restricted, very, very simple, really. There wasn't much, there was no internet, no computer, everything was in a book, and the books we had dealt with Tennessee and Southern genealogy and history. So the world was kind of small.
Once I came to Nashville in 1999 to attend college at Fisk University, my interest in history grew exponentially. I spent most of my time in the Fisk library in the Special Collections area, where once again my love for history was reignited. And I found that it could not only be a passion, but also a profession. And so now it grows and grows in the context of the work that I do as a professional historian.
Welcome to the Metropolitan Government Archives.
The Nashville Public Library Archives, located in Green Hills, houses the records of the metropolitan government. 5 million records dating from 1780 to the late 20th century are housed at the facility. Records on marriages, Old City of Nashville and Davidson County records, maps, cemetery records, mayoral papers, land records, and approximately 100,000 photographs are at the library archives. In addition, the archives has also hosted rotating exhibits on Nashville baseball and aviation, Nashville Fire Department, the history of Green Hills, Hillsborough Road, and other themes related to the history of Nashville and Davidson County. Also, the ongoing First Tuesday at the Archives program features lecturers, historians, genealogists, and authors who speak on historical topics.
One of the stories that I really have a happy memory about was many years ago. A woman came into the Nashville room and she came up and told me her story, and her story was that, like many children during the latter 40s and 50s, she had been adopted out by her parents. Her mother had died when she had an older brother, and she remembered him. Her father couldn't take care of them. Her mother had died. They were put into foster care, and then they were adopted out. She'd never seen her brother since he was about 8 or 9, and she was about 3 or 4. She had traced him to find out that he was dead now, but she had no pictures, and she had nothing really to remember her brother by. And she wanted to know if we could help. And then it just occurred to me that somebody had given us a box of old annuals just the other day. Hadn't even looked at it. We'd put it down in the basement to store it before we could process it. So just on a kind of a serendipity, I went downstairs and opened that box. There it was, and the very first book was the one I wanted. I opened the pages, and there he was. He was a great little boy. There were pictures of him in his class, and he played basketball, and he'd won some award, and so there were lots of pictures. And he took it back upstairs, and I showed it to her. She cried. I cry still about it. Everybody cried, the whole place, and I thought, this is what's important about genealogy and family history. It's not that your family was famous. It's not that they did something wonderful or good. It's that you can establish these contacts between people and give people something they just didn't have before.
The resources of the Nashville Room and the Civil Rights area in the Nashville Public Library really rival any great library, both in the state and also in the nation. Here you have newspapers such as the Globe and the Banner available to you on microfilm, as well as the Tennessean, which provides resources as common as newspapers dating back several years to several decades. I've had experiences sitting in the Nashville Room working on the microfilm machine where the person sitting next to me could be an old athlete looking for stories that may have been published on themselves or of their team, while I'm sitting right next to them looking at resources as late as the 1860s or 1870s. We also have a wide array of city directories available, census records, something as common as looking for the obituary of a lost loved one, a relative that they knew. And from that experience, they could become so enthralled or intrigued with their family histories where they could really be going back several decades to even several centuries.
I think one of the most useful things that the Nashville Room has is actually its online database. By looking at the card catalog in the database, you can see what the library has before you visit. Their postcards are online, their photographs are online. The banner clips, which is one thing that only the Nashville Room has, are valuable for many people. The Banner newspaper clipped every little piece of article, but if you look online, you can see that index, which is only what they have, and then you'll know if they actually have something you would like to do. Their postcards are online, a list of their photographs are online, many of their treasures are online. So I would advise and encourage everybody just to look at it and see what's available before you come to the Nashville Room.
Institutional histories, however, are more than just the histories of institutions. They are the history of people, and therefore it requires that we have a better understanding of who these people were and why they did what they did. And in order to do that, it is most important to understand who these people are in the context of their individual histories, in terms of their community histories, and also of their family histories.
Thanks for watching Discover NPL. I hope you enjoyed this episode where we cover the Special Collections Division and how you can trace your family's ancestry. We look forward to having you join us again for future episodes.
There's so much waiting for you to discover at the library.